say?
Point in September of 1988 in front of one of Maserati Rick's car washes that he owned. One of Ed Hanser's men, one of his soldiers, one of his enforcers or bodyguards, that Ed had kind of created his own little army, a man by the name of Lodrick, the Hitman Parker, alleged to be Lodrick Hitman Parker. Came up on Maserati Rick and shot him a couple times. I know he got him in the stomach.
Rick shot this guy. The guy pulled up at a car wash, and the guy shot Rick in the stomach. Rick shot him, and both of them went to the hospital.
With Rick shot but alive in the hospital, time would be his enemy. His attacker would lay doors down, wounded as he was, but his attacker would be alive the next day. According to hospital officials, 29-year-old Richard Carter of Northwest Detroit didn't make it
this time. Officials say 2 men were seen near his room when the shooting was discovered.
Really, we don't have a whole lot of details other than the fact that some people saw 2 men. Anybody can visit patients, and there was no restrictions on visiting this patient. There are sometimes restrictions imposed by patients or the police department, etc., and there were no restrictions on this patient.
This is the first time in the hospital's 50-year history there has been a shooting inside. Officials say after today they plan to reevaluate their security measures. A family member who did not want to appear on camera said Carter was shot on Friday while washing his car. She said she spoke to him this morning on the telephone, and he said he couldn't identify who shot him. News of the shooting upset visitors who came to the hospital located at Outer Drive and Schaefer Road. They were banned from visiting patients on the 3rd floor for the rest of the night.
How, what, who, or should we know? Because we're security. How does that happen?
Where's security? How does that happen is a good question. At the time of Rick's death, he had several feuds. Ed Hanser was one, and then there was also one with his one-time friend, Demetrius Holloway.
It couldn't have been nobody like Ed and them motherfuckers. You see what I'm saying? It had to be bigger than that. You see what I'm saying? Because them niggas was small time. How you gonna get past the police and go in the hospital and hit somebody? Huh? Come on now. You can't get past them police unless it was a big time. Let them motherfuckers pass. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, if you got a chance to get somebody, yeah, I agree. Yeah, you get them. Get them while you can. Because they gonna get you while they can. It just so happened they caught him. And they caught him slipping. What can I say? That's the game. To me, that was a coward move, personally. You in the hospital, you recovering from a bullet wound. How can it was a coward move.
Okay.
That's not how you, that was weak.
Rick had done a lot of things in his short life. From his days of a boy witnessing the fires that destroyed Detroit, to becoming a drug dealer hobnobbing with superstars. Yeah, Rick had done it. He had found the way so many inner city urban niggas find. The way we all know the ending to, but say fuck it and do it anyway. Rick was one of a million anybodies who would choose his own path and end up dead as a nobody. But that wouldn't be Rick. Even in death, he had other plans.
Rick used to always tell Mama Betty, right here, Betty Carter, you remember, did y'all get that on the picture, Betty? He used to always tell her, shut up, Mama, you don't worry about it. When I'm dead, you'll have the money. You see what I'm saying? Remember, he used to always tell her when she be like, you selling that dope and shit? And wait, man, I don't want to hear it, Mama. You gonna be all right. Don't worry about that, you know? He ain't want to go out like that. He used to tell her to burn it. He used to say cremate. You see what I'm saying? That's all I can remember. Because one day we was upstairs and he came in and Betty was like, y'all need to go to church. Y'all need to take your ass to church. And because she was a Christian lady. And she used to always tell us to go to church. And Rick, don't worry about me. You gonna be all right. Something happened to me. Don't even worry about it. Just did you pay that insurance? He's always reminded. Did you pay that insurance?
I never think that my brother be buried in a Mercedes casket. You know what I'm saying? Cause he always had a Mercedes. He was like at 25, he was the first young black person with a Maserati. At 25. But he always had Mercedes. And the way he went out, the way he lived, his lifestyle.
He lived to do everything he wanted to do. He traveled out the country. He bought everything he wanted to have. But he never got to see his children grow up.
He didn't sell out. He didn't let nobody run over him. You know what I'm saying? And yes, he was the gangster. He went out like one and he lived like one. Regardless what everybody say, you know, people talk, the streets talk, but he definitely lived the real gangster's life, and everybody knows.
And as far as I'm concerned, he was a good guy to me. I ain't never know nothing bad about him. It's just the way they did him, that was some bold shit. It was fucked up, you know. Because he could have went out any other kind of way. He shouldn't have got took out. Because he was a helper. He used to help a lot of people, you know. That's all I remember. He used to always help people. Rick wasn't a bad person.
With the death of Maserati Rick, shit in Detroit was up for grabs. There would be numerous murders in record numbers. Dudes knew money was waiting to be made and nobody was willing to stand in line to get it. Ed Hansford was still calling shots, but he was now facing numerous charges from the feds. Nevertheless, business continued. Rick's one-time partner, Demetrius Holloway, was still around as well, and his pockets put on some weight.
Well, I think some people, like in any situation like that, like you said, there were definitely a lot of mourners, people that he worked with and that respected him and loved him, but then there were also people that saw it as an opportunity for themselves to, again, fill a void that was created. And I think they thought with the end of Maserati, that meant the end of Demetrius Holloway, and that was a big business, a big chunk of the city that needed to be supplied. So I think a lot of people saw it as an opportunity to come in and make a name for themselves in the same way that Maserati Demetrius had made a name for themselves.
The one-time Best Friends organization was all but dismantled, but there were still rumors and whispers in the streets. Sources say orders had come down to eliminate the Maserati era. No one knows for sure if these orders were the result of another organization or from a nigga like Ed Hansard, the prime suspect in Maserati Rick's murder. What is known, however, for sure is the events that took place in broad daylight Monday, October 8th, 1990.
Incidentally, about 2 or 3 years later, Demetrius Holloway was killed in similar fashion when he was gunned down at the Broadway, a popular urban clothier in downtown Detroit. He was talking to the one of the salespeople with a girl to his right, and someone came up from behind him, put a gun to the back of his head, and pulled the trigger. From what I understand, there were some people that affiliated with Ed Hansard and possibly affiliated with Rockin' Reggie Brown from the Best Friends that basically had a beef with Holloway because he was still around, and they wanted to get rid of that entire conglomerate that was Maserati Rick and Demetrius Holloway and take over their territory. So in a matter of 2 years, and 2 very violent and high-profile murders, they were able to do that.
The shots that cut down Demetrius Holloway were reminiscent of some movie-type shit. Academy Award-winning murder. 1 shot, 1 kill. All that slick street shit played until this very day. Maserati dead, Holloway dead, and Rick Wershey a rat. Forever sealed best friends, and planted seeds that would plague Detroit with murder. All the hairstyles, gators, and fancy cars wouldn't remove its murderous past. A past that repeats itself on a daily.
Is Detroit the most dangerous city in America? New crime report says yes, but Detroit isn't taking the news laying down.
Detroit got a serious history of being like a murder capital. A lot of people think about Detroit as being something new, as being the #1 murder capital, Detroit and New Orleans. Detroit been a murder capital.
Around here, it's an attitude like, even if I knuckle up with a nigga right now, you know what I'm saying? If I whoop him, niggas around here attitude be, I'm killing that nigga when I see him. You know what I'm saying? So, shit, man. Sometimes it be like that, you know what I mean? But I think that everybody just set in their ways. I don't like to, you can't blame nobody for nobody else's actions, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I just think that, it's just rough around here, you know what I'm saying? And, like, we don't, around in Detroit, man, they don't really gangbang, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's a neighborhood thing here, I'm from the east side, I'm from the west side, I'm from Joy Road, I'm from Schoolcraft, I'm from Linwood, I'm from 7 Mile, you know what I mean? I feel like, it's a lot of dudes that's misunderstood out here, you know what I'm saying? I feel like we've always had, like some salt, like a bad, you know what I'm saying? On just when you hear Detroit or you out of town, see a nigga in the D, hey, you like, even when I'm out of town, you from Detroit, you know what I'm saying?
The history of Detroit drugs is crazy. I mean, you got where like crack started and cocaine and all of that situation started. It had a really strong movement on the city of Detroit and the epidemic on Detroit. We were some of the first people. We always grew up on fashion, so the Gators and the serious chains and all that type of stuff was something that we thrived for. I mean, so when cocaine came in and when crack came in, it was like a crazy game. And the history with Detroit is not only is it one area of drugs, you got heroin been here since the 70s. You got fucking the best weed been here since the 70s. Any nigga with a bag can get it off in the city of Detroit. Any nigga. And everybody has been affiliated with drugs in Detroit, from the police to the mayor to the streets to the teachers to everybody has had something to do with drugs in the city of Detroit.
Drugs in Detroit seem to go hand in hand. The profits and proceeds created staggering wealth and exasperated its legal system. 1 out of every 3 young black males have at one time or another had its brush with the law. Ironically, the law and its government seem to run parallel with the illegalities of the city, Detroit City. The corruption of Maserati Rick's day has progressed until today, and one of Detroit's main illegal progressors was its mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick.
So Tonight on Nightline, Motor City scandal. Sex and politics intertwine in a mess that's cost a struggling city millions of dollars. Did the mayor fire this police officer for blowing the whistle? The truth is in the text messages.
From the global resources of ABC News, with Terry Moran, Martin Bashir, and Cynthia McFadden, this is Nightline, February 27, 2008.
Good evening. Tonight, sex, lies, and politics. This is the story of a young public official filled with high hopes and good intentions for a troubled city. Just last month, Forbes magazine described Detroit as the most miserable city in America. It has the nation's highest rate of violent crime, the highest rate of foreclosures, and the mayor of Detroit was determined to serve his city well. Until, that is, he used millions of dollars in public funds to try and keep secret his private life. Today, the extent of his cover-up was revealed in court, and the whistleblowers spoke exclusively to Nightline's Vicky Mabry.
I didn't get on my knees and pray to God to get this position, to disrespect my God, my wife, and my children in our home.
It was quintessential Kwame Kilpatrick, Detroit's brash young mayor.
I don't whore around on my wife. And
Back in 2003, denying rumors that he'd had an affair and fired police officers to cover it up.
And I can't wait till the truth comes out.
It's time for all of us to rise up, to rise up, to rise up.
Mayor of Detroit is a confounding mix of qualities. He's energetic. He's a great salesperson on behalf of the city of Detroit. On the other hand, the mayor of Detroit also has a tendency to make really poor personal choices. And the situation we're in right now is an example of that.
The situation involved rumors of infidelity and a wild party with strippers at the mayor's mansion, as well as allegations of abuses by his police bodyguards, charges that they were an elite protection squad run amok.
The mob. It's the Sopranos.
Harold Nelthrop, a 17-year police veteran, was one of the bodyguards in that unit.
The accusations that would accompany the mayor would run concurrent with the city's long list of mobsters. Butch Jones, Maserati Rick, BMFs, Big Meech, all well-organized units who at one time or another probably pleaded to God to get off. So it's amazing why Kilpatrick thought he'd do some of the same things and get off.
I didn't get on my knees and pray to God to get this position, to disrespect my God, my wife, and my children in our home. And I can't wait till the truth comes out.
Everybody's truth is different, but ultimately, in the end, it's their truth. One thing, however, makes all truths the same: jail and being guilty.
I lied under oath in the case of Gary Brown and Harold Nelthrop versus the city of Detroit. Case number 033175557NZ, regarding information that was relevant to claims made by Gary Brown and Harold Nelthrop. I did so with an intent to mislead the court and the jury and to impede and obstruct the fair administration of justice. I lied under oath at a civil deposition for the Brown-Nelthrop lawsuit on October 11, 2004 in the city of Detroit. I also lied under oath in the civil jury trial in the Nelthrop-Brown lawsuit in the Wayne County Circuit Court on August 29, 2007.
Kwame Kilpatrick's case is just one example of history repeating itself, being recast in a suit. But just like Maserati Rick, he was cast as a criminal, and although criminal is wrong, they are not to be forgotten. They are stories cast where memories are triggered, allowing one to replay a minute in time and remember an event. In Rick's brother's case, he remembers the pain associated with asking Rick for some money, not knowing he lay dead in the hospital.
The most painful thing is the death, because it hurts me. It's like this. And it really hurt me because it's like I thought he was invincible. I didn't think he could die. Not at that age. And it really hurts me because when I called him, I was calling about some money. It wasn't about I love you. It wasn't about, bro, get well. It was about, bro, I need a couple of dollars. And it hurt me real bad. And that's really fucked up because I was a grown man then where I could get out and do what I want to, when I want to, like I do today. It just hurts that I was calling him about some money and not calling him about, is you alright? And when I made that phone call, the phone call didn't go through because he was dead already. You know what I'm saying? He was already dead, and there's many phone calls I could have made to other people. But I was to call him to ask him how he was doing and none of that shit.
Rick knew that he was finna get killed in the hospital because he seen the person. Cause the way my mother was in St. Louis, and he called my mother and was like, his words was, "I love you, that you never gonna see me again, and you strike." That's all he said. And the day after that, he was murdered.
When I seen him, he was telling me to stay out the game. You know, he had a briefcase, silk suit on. Like, nah, I don't want you in it, man. Keep working, you know. I couldn't never get a hold of nothing, so, you know, I laid back.
His death was like, I mean, I wouldn't say I would rather him have died, but I think it's more of a it's more comfortable, I would say, sense of comfort, because he in a better place instead of being on the streets